Welcome back to the Scoundrel Shard. This is episode 4. We are playing another orange versus purple match, but this one goes very differently than the one we saw in episode 3. Let's take a look at our opening hand. The Absolver and the Shining Disciple are exactly what we want to see. The Echo of Light will stay in our hand because once we take the high ground, getting an Echo of Light on an Absolver is an amazing combo, gives us a lot of range damage. We're going to go ahead and throw back the 5 casting cost minion. We want to make sure that we have plenty of solid drops in the early game. Let's move on. On our draw, we get the Blessed Archer. Having that Shroud means that it gives us a lot of protection from both hero abilities and from spells, gives us the ability to hang back and just deal damage across the open space. Now, I do feel like on this map, for our deck, this is the weakest starting position of actually both maps. We end these long stretches that make it very difficult for us to set up on the high ground. Additionally, once we do get set up on the high ground, our enemies have access to the high ground from a very short range on their area. So it's a lot of challenges for us to get set up the way we want to be. But we're going to make a go of it anyway. Our Shining Disciple moves up aggressively. We follow behind it, creating a line of sight block so that we can put down our 2-drop ranged minion. All of this is fine. Now, we have to be careful when we do this because they can just walk up, pop the shield with their ability, and then attack. But as you see, they immediately drop a Plague Spore. Unlike the purple deck we faced yesterday, this deck has a very, very good idea of what they want to do. They want to drop Plague Spore and use healing effects or things like Flesh Pile in order to avoid damage. And that should change how we approach this deck. And I think what we see here is that there is not enough adaptation to that play. So we do get to vaporize the boulder and take out the Plague Spore early. And that gives us a huge advantage at this point in the game. Our Shining Disciple is a little bit far forward, but even if we lose both the Shining Disciple and the Absolver at this point, getting rid of that Plague Spore so quickly is absolutely worth it. We set up here. Notice that even just on board, they can walk up, attack the Shining Disciple, use hero power on the Absolver. They get basically 2 for nothing there. We need to be careful about those positions, but again, I think it was worth the trade to get rid of the Plague Spore. At this point, we're in kind of a rebuilding zone. And I think this may be one of the mistakes I make in this game, is that being on the high ground, I just feel like I need to stay there. I need to make sure I camp that out, even though it's quite obvious that they are going to be able to move in aggressively now. I do pull off a little bit, and I keep the Ardent Inquisitor back far enough that they don't have line of sight, but that second Plague Spore puts us in a very difficult position. Now we have to try and figure out how to get rid of the Plague Spore while still playing bodies on the board, but not losing too much in efficiency in the process. That is a very hard line to walk. Now we do draw into the Starfall Templar here, which is perfect for what we want to do. We can deep strike that between the Plague Spore and the enemy champion, get 2 damage on it, and this is why I walk forward aggressively here. My idea is I can drop that, get the Plague Spore down to 1, and then walk up and be able to attack it. But as we see, that's not quite how that works out. Additionally, our Ardent Inquisitor is just doomed. They are going to take enough damage to die in 1 or 2 turns, depending on how fast our opponent wants to work on them. And our opponent just drops a Flesh Pile. So they are absolutely winning trades. They may be lower on life, except there's the medics, so they gain right back up. Now they're up on both board presence. They've got the Plague Spore down. They have this nice line of defense here so that I can't even come in and ping the Plague Spore off. There's not a lot I can do here. I move forward with the Ardent Inquisitor because I want to get some value out of it. I can get rid of the combat medic to make sure that I don't take damage from that, but I need to be trucking this way. I need to get out of range and regroup. But I'm so fixated on trying to come around here and take out that Plague Spore that I lose track of just how much damage I'm going to take in the process. I play the Evangelist down, thinking that if I can just get it up to the high ground, that will do the last point of damage on the Plague Spore. But if I'm going to do that, I need to move back. I but I don't. Again, I'm trying to make multiple attacks towards the Plague Spore. They walk forward, get the Insanguinate on the Evangelist, which means the Plague Spore can kill it, and again, they have this good wall of protection blocking line of sight of the Plague Spore. So that's 2 turns that I've set here and just taken damage. This is another place where I should have considered maybe not walking over. We did get the second Starfall Templar to clear off the Plague Spore, but now I'm at 16 to 22. And while it feels really strong because I have the 4-3 on the board and they don't have anything else at this point, I have to remember that this is their territory. They are going to be able to move in far more aggressively than I am. Even if I play guys right here, they have the better defensive positions right here. So all of my ranged minions are hindered right off the bat, and I should have been moving back this whole time. Now, with the Devious Socialite dropped, it just does an extra 3 damage, and that Devious Socialite is an attack range, and I have no movement blocking abilities. I can't drop any minions. Like, I can't drop minions here or here to make that, to block. That Devious Socialite can just follow me the entire time. If I had been back here, I could have dropped a minion here and been fine to keep that damage off me long enough to set up a defense. But instead, I just take 6 to the face, and then another 2 from the hero, and then they play in a flesh pile on top of that, so I'm not going to be killing the hero anytime soon. They flesh offering away my only threat in the area, and suddenly I'm at 3, and there is absolutely no way for me to win this. I draw a really good high Illuminator series, but even if I play that, like even if it could attack this turn and I could kill off the Socialite, I still don't have a way to deal with their hero, which is right there in my face. At this point, there's only one thing to do, and that's what I learned from this game is that being aware of our opponent's game plan means making sure that we are more conservative with our life totals if we need to be. Most of the time in this deck, trading my life so that I can build up my minion army is exactly the correct play, because in the late game, I just have this legion of ranged fighters that can keep everything at bay. However, in this game, because they have so much direct damage and because they are going to be able to have so much healing, I have to be aware and be conservative with my life totals. I hope you found this informative. I'm working on improving both the video and audio quality as we go. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow.